If you feel like you keep seeing the same patterns repeat in your life over and over, whether it's in your relationships, in your career, in how you feel about yourself, I want you to stay with me for the next 10 minutes because what I'm about to share completely changed how I understand myself. And it might do the same for you. So, by the end of this episode, you are going to know what a core wound actually is, how to spot if one is running your life right now, and the first step to actually healing it, not just thinking about it. And before we dive in, if you're new here, hit subscribe. I post every week to help you find your purpose, figure out what you want to do with your life, and to actually build and design a life that fits you. So, first, how to know if a core wound is actually running the show. Because most of us have no idea. We just think this is how we are. So, here are some signs and symptoms you may be experiencing if a core wound is running your life. First, you keep seeing the same patterns over and over. So, in your jobs, in relationships, in how people treat you, how people react to things that you're doing. Maybe you see something that your boss did or said to you that also came up in a romantic relationship. These are signals that there is a pattern happening underneath that can be rewired if you're having a negative effect or a negative response to it. Number two, you may be a people pleaser, or maybe you're a perfectionist, or you're terrified of being too much. And these underlying fears are running the show. They are determining your actions, how you act around people, because there's this fear driving everything that you're doing. You get easily triggered, or you just get triggered because you're human, by a coworker, by a family member, maybe a stranger, someone on the internet that set you off in a way that feels bigger than the moment. So maybe you calm down and you look back and think, okay, why did I really react that deeply to that small situation? You feel vaguely off in your life, like the path that you're on, you didn't really choose. You kind of just ended up there. And now you're questioning, like, is this what you really want? And maybe your dreams are trying to tell you something. So that's really just your subconscious. I mean, your actual dreams at night, it's your subconscious is trying to send you some sort of signal or clue. So if any of these sound familiar, you're not broken. You are just operating from a wound that was never meant to run your entire life. And we're going to get down to how to find and identify that wound so that you can start heal it. So what is a core wound actually? Here is the actual science behind it. So core wounds are your emotional imprints from childhood, usually before the age of 7. So children are like sponges. That's when our subconscious is forming. It's when our nervous systems are forming. Every incident and reaction, every interaction with other humans, with our caregivers is being imprinted on us. And that's how we are forming our beliefs. So we're absorbing everything. So maybe you didn't get all your needs met. Maybe you did not feel fully seen by a caregiver or a parent in the way that you wanted or you needed. Maybe you were only praised or given a compliment when you achieved things. Maybe expressing your real self, like your real identity, did not feel safe, or it felt threatening, or you were made fun of for when you stepped out and were yourself. And you don't forget those moments. This is when your nervous system starts to learn how to survive in the world. This is how you learn what love looks like, what you have to be, who you have to be to get the love, to get the recognition, to get your needs met. Who did you have to become? These are the moments that you learned. And this is where core wounds really develop. So that's why we have to go back in time and examine where these started so that we can start to reprogram them. So whatever wound you experience from any of these examples, that's when a belief gets embedded into your body. It's not just a thought in your mind. It really is a felt experience. So you felt some sort of emotion in those experiences, and that ties into your nervous system. That's why when you feel certain things, like you get triggered years later as an adult, someone dismisses your idea or they put you down or they make fun of you, And you don't just have a thought that you didn't like that, you have a full body experience. Like you are triggered, you are annoyed, you're frustrated or angry. You can feel it in your gut, you can feel it in your chest. It's different for everyone, but it is a full body experience. So it can feel like you are 8 years old again or 5 years old again. So let's talk specifically about how this can show up in your career or any area of your life. Really, this applies to. It's all connected. But of course, we focus on career. I mostly help my clients in their careers. So this is where we can really dive in. First, there are three core wounds most likely tied to your career. First, the worthiness wound. So this wound says, I have to earn my place. I have to prove that I am valuable. And it often creates high achievers who are completely exhausted because no amount of success is ever going to feel like enough. And if this is you, you probably chose your career partly based on what would impress people, what would make your parents proud, what looked like success from the outside. And you are good at it, but it doesn't feel like you. This is why it feels off, because you were choosing these things to get the validation that you didn't receive, the needs that were not met as a child. Number two is the safety wound. So this one says that it's not safe to take risks. It's you need to stay where you know, where is familiar, and don't blow up what you've built. It keeps incredibly capable people paralyzed where they're at, not because they don't know what they want, but because wanting it and the thought of leaving it does not feel safe. So this is for the person who knows that they need to leave their job. Like it's just not for them forever. So they've known for years and they still haven't moved because it's not because you lack clarity, but because your nervous system is protecting you from the unknown and the uncertainty. And the third wound that could be related to your career is the identity wound. And this one says, I don't know who I am without this title, this role, this version of myself that other people recognize. And it is sneaky because it can look like ambition from the outside, but underneath it, it's if I change, will I still be loved? Will I still be respected? Will I still be admired? Will I still matter? Who am I if I am not this thing? Who am I if I'm not tied to this identity in this role? And I want to say, if you recognize yourself in any of these, it's not a flaw. It is completely understandable response to what you experienced, but it's not the truth of who you actually are. So an example I wanted to share and why this episode even came up for me was recently I have been tracking my dreams. That's why I brought up the dreams as an example to really what your subconscious is trying to tell you. Every morning I write down my dreams. It started off really hard to do and pinpoint and explain and put into words, but now I write like paragraphs and paragraphs. It really is a muscle that you can train. A whole different topic, different episode that we can do. But I have a reoccurring dream that I've had for years and it comes every now and then, but I did have one recently where I was like screaming at my family. I was screaming, trying to get their attention, trying to tell them something. But then I started to lose my voice. Like I couldn't get anything out. My voice was going away. And can you imagine how frustrating that is? And that is a full body feeling. Like when I woke up, I felt that emotion. I felt the frustration. And this is not the first time I've had a dream like this, but I thought, wow, that really is a core wound that I need to look into deeper. It's something that I need to address. When I sat with that dream, I realized it was pointing to a core wound of my voice doesn't matter. No one wants to hear what I think. I'm not worth being listened to, because that's how I felt when I was a little girl. I was the baby in the family. I had to seek other people for their opinions, their validation. Why would they trust the youngest one in the family? I could see now how when I traced that belief back, I could see how it shaped a lot of things in my life. So how I had spent years seeking validation before sharing an opinion, how I would stay quiet in rooms where I didn't trust anyone, or I didn't feel confident in the room, or didn't trust what I have to say, or how I built a career that looked good to other people because I didn't trust that what I actually wanted was worth pursuing. So that dream was not just a random image. It was actually my subconscious handing me a roadmap to my healing, to what needs to be looked at. Because if we don't address these core wounds and they're running the show, then they're just going to keep running the show. So how do you find a wound and how can you begin healing it? Because if you want the life of your dreams, if you want to attract what you came here to do and what you came here to attract, don't let these core wounds run the show. That's going to be the roadmap to getting the life that you deserve, the life that you want. How do you actually find your core wound? Here's where I would start and where I would have my clients start in my program. Step 1 is follow a trigger. Triggers they suck, but they're actually kind of great too when you use them to your advantage. So think about the last time you had a reaction that felt bigger than the situation. A comment from your mom that sent you down a spiral, a moment at work that made you want to quit on the spot. Hello, I've had so many of those. That intensity is a signal. Under that trigger, there is a wound. Step 2, map it backwards. So ask yourself, what did that moment make me feel? Not what went through your head, what you thought. What did you actually feel in that moment? And then when did I first feel that? When did I first experience something like that? Keep going until you find the root. So really, you're going to have to dig and investigate your life, especially your childhood. Work your way backwards. Think of times, and especially in relationships, where you felt a similar trigger. So this is where journaling or working with a professional can really help. But really, you are investigating the root, getting down to the bottom of it. Step 3, identify the unmet need. So every wound has an unmet need at its core. The worthiness wound needs to know that it's enough without achieving everything. The safety wound needs to experience that risk does not mean loss, that you're going to be okay if you take some risk and get out of your comfort zone into the unknown. The identity wound needs to know that it is loved as a person, not as a role. So once you name the need, that's when you can start to meet the need. And this is where really reparenting comes in your body, not just in your mind. That's where the real reprogramming happens. So like inner child work. Imagine when you pinpoint the need, imagine that you're sitting with the little version of yourself, like you're sitting and having a conversation and they're experiencing that need and that emotion. What would you do for that little person? Like, what would you do if there was an actual little kid in front of you? How would you want to comfort them? How would you want to give them what you need? That's the roadmap that you can start doing, telling them that they're good enough, they're loved no matter what, that they can be who they want to be. They can follow their passions or their things that they were interested in. They can follow those things. It's okay. They're still going to be accepted. That's actually why they came onto this earth, was to follow those unique interests. So I want to know, which of these 3 core wounds resonates with you the most? Is there one that I didn't mention that comes up for you? Because there are so many. I can't cover every wound, and it's going to be so unique to your life, your situation. Was it the worthiness wound, the safety wound, or the identity wound that resonated with you, or something else? So tell me in the comments. I read every single one and I will respond to you. And then if this episode did open something up for you, and if you're sitting there thinking, okay, I see it, I'm experiencing this. Now, what do I do with this information? It's exactly the work I do with my clients. This is a part of Design Your Purpose, which is my 90-day one-on-one coaching program, where we build a life aligned with who you actually are, your purpose, a career that aligns with who you came here to be. I offer complimentary career design sessions, so I will link that also in the notes. It's just 45 minutes where we can really map out what you actually want to do, what you came here to do, who you came here to be, and how to start applying that to your life. Okay, so I'll link all that information in the show notes. I want to know what resonated. Thank you so much for being here, and we will talk in the next one. Okay, bye.